Welcome back. In this particular video, I'm gonna beautify this particular table, which is right now looking very dull. We don't have a specific button, so I want to make this table little bootstrapish. And plus, this data, which was dummy that I've added using JavaScript, I want to show the data which is available inside my database, the actual data. So we're gonna work on that thing in this particular video. So again, as I'm going everything step by step, the first thing I'm going to do is to beautify that table. So I'm going to add two more files in our project, that is the DataTable bootstrap JS file and the DataTable bootstrap.css file. Now where you can find this file, so if you have watched my previous video, I have already downloaded DataTable and have extracted the DataTable file. Inside that I have a CSS. From that I'm going to select this DataTable.bootstrap inside CSS, and I'm gonna go to my project. Inside my CSS folder, I'm gonna right click and paste it. So you can see datatables.bootstrap.css has been added. Similarly, I'm going to add the JS file as well. So I'm gonna select this datatables.bootstrap and I'm gonna add it inside my JS directory. So this file has also been added, but we have just added this file inside our project. Now we need to link it in our master page. So the first thing that we're going to link is the datatable.bootstrap.css. Okay, the order is important. First you should have your bootstrap.main.css, and then you have your theme, and then finally our datatable bootstrap.js css bootstrap.css. Okay, so here I'm gonna write the proper comment. So CSS file has been added for styling. Now I'm going to add our JavaScript file. So again, the order is important since we have the data coming in myapp.js and here is our core data table file. So after this I'm going to add our data table bootstrap.js. So the name is datatables.bootstrap.js. So I have saved our page.jsp file. After adding these two files, I'm just gonna check this table by pressing Ctrl F5. So it is going to clear the cache and it will load our new JS file and everything. So now you can see the effect. I can go to second. So next is disabled. I can go to previous, and we are having this 3 records, 5 records, 10 records, and as well as we are getting this sorting capability in our data table, which was not there. So this is looking much cleaner than the previous one. And now we'll move on to our second step. That step says, okay, since we are going to fetch the data from the controller, so we are going to modify something in our page.jsp file. So basically, to make it dynamic, we are going to add the context root in our page.jsp file. So I will go to our page.jsp file. Here you can see inside window.menu we are adding the title. Now what we need to do, we need to add the context root as well. So for adding that context root, I'm going to write here window.context root is equal to again use our el expression, and here I'm going to specify the context root. So this is the first thing that you will do, and the second thing, I need to also add the category ID in my list products.jsp file. Okay, so I'm gonna open my list products.jsp file. So you can see inside this breadcrumb we have written, if user has clicked all products, it will go inside this particular part of the HTML code. So I'm going to write another script element here, and I'm just going to add window.category ID is equal to empty string, no spaces. Okay, so it's an empty string which I'm adding inside my category ID for all products. And similarly, we are going to add a little bit of script in our show the product based on its category. So as you can see, we already have the category name available for which we are going to show the category. So using this category object, I am going to add the category ID as well. So inside this I'm going to say okay, use the category dot id. So I'm storing the category id here. So these are the two changes that you're going to do inside our list products.jsp. If user is clicking all the products, keep it empty. If user is clicking on a particular category, use the category id and store it in another variable called as category id inside your window global object, which is available in JavaScript. Okay. Now we are going to prepare the JSON URL in our third step. Okay, this JSON URL will be prepared inside the JavaScript code so that we can accept the JSON data, okay, and give it to our data table. So we are going to prepare this URL based on the category ID value. Okay, so we'll open our myapp.js. This entire code will go here. Now we don't require this data set, so I'm gonna remove it. This is not needed. Once the table code is executed here, I'm going to create a var and call it as JSON URL. So right now empty. And I'm going to check if window dot category id is equal to empty string. So if it is empty string, it means user is asking for all the products. So our JSON URL would be JSON URL will be equal to. Now I want to get the context root. So you know the context root is stored inside our window object. So I'm going to write window dot context root plus. Okay, and here I'm going to specify our using single quote. I'm going to say I want the JSON data for all products. Okay, else if the category ID is present, so what we are going to do, we are going to use our URL once again. Again the context root would be there, and I'm going to say JSON data for category. Okay, so show the category one product. So return me all the products, but here it should be dynamic. So what I can do, I can just put it a plus plus symbol here, and I'm going to add our window dot category id. Make sure you're not giving any extra spaces, otherwise this URL won't map to our JSON data that we are fetching. So JSON data category 1 products, that's what I've written here. JSON data all products and JSON data category 1 product. This ID is dynamic. So this ID we are getting from the window dot category ID that we have added in our list products page here. Okay, so JSON URL is ready now. Next, modify the jQuery data table code to display the data. So that data, that JSON data we want to display in our data table. So for that we are going to use the following properties, that is the ajax, and other word would be the column. So ajax property will have again an object. So let me remove our this data products. We don't require this thing. We are going to use our page length and that one, but here there will be ajax property, which is nothing but an object. Here you need to specify the URL. Okay, and URL would be JSON URL that we created in the above step, comma, and one more thing that you need to add is data src, and this data src will have a empty string. Now what does this data src will do? If you have checked in our postman, the data that we are receiving does not have anything appended here. Your data table requires that it should be having a data present here and all the objects should be part of it. Since we are not sending anything here, that's why it is empty. Okay, it is a collection of object for us without any name, so that's why we are keeping it as empty. Now apart from this, the next property that we are going to use is columns. So how we want to display the columns? So columns would be nothing but it would be a collection columns, and again it would be a collection of object. This object will have various properties such as data. So the first property that I want to display is of name. Okay, so data would be name, comma, and if it is sortable, I'm gonna keep it like that only, and if I don't want to change it, I'm gonna keep it as it is. Okay, data name, you don't have to do anything extra, just do this object, and again I'm gonna copy this object. Now next data that I want to display, so based on the field that we want to display, so we have name, we have brand. So second thing I'm going to display is brand. Make sure this name is similar to your this name, the JSON data property name that we have brand. Similarly we have unit price. Okay, now this unit price we need to display in which currency it is. So what we can do, we are going to use another function, and that function name is mrender function. Okay, so here I am going to use unit price. As I told, it should be the same, this name and this name should be similar. P is capital, that's why I'm using P capital. Okay, now let me show you first how that data is coming in my data table, then I'm gonna modify it afterwards. Okay, and then after unit price, we will have our quantity. So these are the 4 columns that I want to display initially, then I'm gonna modify it. Okay, now but I am showing 4 columns here, so I need to modify in our list products.jsp as well here, because you see initially there were only 2 fields are there, but here I'm going to change it. I'm going to call it as name, then this is the brand, I'm going to copy it, this would be price, and this would be quantity available. Now what I can do, I can copy the same thing and I can keep it as the t foot as well. T foot. The only part that is not there is t body, that would be filled by our JSON data that we are sending. Okay, so we have a header and we have a footer with the same name. Okay. So whatever we have done till now, we are going to test it in our browser if we are able to fetch that particular data. Oh, cool. So we are able to fetch our data at one go. So we have this product in our database, the quantity available it is showing here. So I want to show some of the capability of data table, so I'm gonna go ahead quickly, and later on we can just work on the business logic part. So here I want to display a price symbol. So how can you modify this particular column itself? Okay. So what you can do, you can use the mrender function in your myapp.js. So if I open the unit price column, I can do a comma, and I'm going to open an mrender, and this will be attached to a function. It has 3 parameters. The data, so this data is nothing but this unit price, the actual value that unit price hold, the type of data, and the entire row if you want to manipulate the row. So what you need to do, you just need to manipulate. It means you just have to return the entire string. So I'm going to return the string. So what string I want to return? I want to return the rupee symbol. So how can I return the rupee symbol? I can use the HTML entity code. So I'm going to write ampersand hash. The HTML entity code is 8377 followed by semicolon. So ampersand hash 8377 and semicolon is the HTML entity code for rupee. So I'm rendering this unit price this way. It means take up the rupee symbol, okay, prefix it to our data. If you want to add additional space, you can just put a space here, and if I do a quickly refresh, you can see the rupee symbol has been added here. So this is how you can modify the column. Now what I want is, I want to add 2 more buttons here. Okay, so the 2 more button will help me to view the product and add it to the cart. So that's the change which I want. So how can I change that thing, and how can I add an extra column? Okay, so for adding any item to the card or viewing to the card, I require that product ID. So if you notice in our postman that we are sending this ID, but I have not used here. Okay, so I want to add an additional column here. So how can I add an additional column? I just need to open up again curly braces. I am gonna use the data followed by ID, The order is not important here. Okay, but what is important is I'm going to use the mRender function. I have the data, the type, and the entire row. So as you know, we are going to return something here, okay, using this particular data that we have. So I have decided the URL will be like this. So obviously we need to have the context root. I'm going to show this will be the dynamic part, and I'm going to use this product. So this is going to be the URL, but URL are displayed in an anchor tag. So first of all, we are going to prepare our string. I'm going to say str plus equal to, okay, I just want to use the anchor tag href equal to double quotes, okay, and here we are going to add our URL. So how can we add our URL to make it dynamic? As I told you, I'm going to use this plus symbol. Here we are going to use the context root which is available in your window. So window dot context root, okay, followed by the forward slash, and then you will have your URL that you want to keep. Okay, so show, again it would become dynamic. So again plus plus, so show the data, and here I'm going to add the first product like this. So this is the entire URL that I'm using, which is entirely dynamic. Okay, and here I'm going to close it and close the anchor tag. So here I'm going to say view. So right now I'm only displaying the view part here. Again I need to add one more. Now the next URL that I'm going to add is to add it to cart. So I'm going to say cart add, okay, forward slash this product, and I'm going to say add to cart. But it means how many columns we have? 1 2 3 4 and 5. So 5 column we want to display. But if you see in our list product.jsp, our table is capable to display how many columns? 4 columns. So I'm going to add one more column at the end, okay, and we are not going to add anything. We are going to leave it as it is blank like this. So we added that one extra column that is required. So I'm gonna do a quick refresh to check whether we have our button. So parameter ID for row 0 column 4, and okay, so there is some error we have, so it is not able to find that ID row 0 and column number 4. Okay, let us check what has went wrong. Maybe some syntactical error that I made. Okay, the problem here is this a pretty basic mistake I did. I have forgot to return this string. Okay, so here I am going to return that particular string. So cart add and everything is proper. Let us again do a quick refresh. Yeah, you can see I am able to get that link. So we just need to ensure that I am returning that particular string that we have created. But this anchor tag is looking very pretty dull according to our template. So I'm going to modify and add some class to it. Okay, so for adding a class, I'll go to our app.js. Inside our this anchor tag, I'm going to add a class of btn for our bootstrap. I'm going to say btn primary. Okay, and here instead of writing that text, I'm going to use a glyph icon. So how can I add a glyph icon? So for that I'm going to use the span tag class of glyph icon, and then glyph icon I hyphen open. Okay, and similarly gonna copy it, and instead of add to cart I'm going to say use glyph icon for shopping cart. And here also for the anchor tag I'm going to add a class equal to btn success. So now quickly let us check how it has been displayed. So you can see I'm able to have this nice little buttons here with the glyph icon of I, so I can view the product and I can simply add this product to the cart. Okay, but there is this little space and this sorting is available for this button, so I don't want to display this sorting also for this. So how can I disable that thing? So for that you're going to use the be sortable property and make it as false. So once it is false, it won't allow you to sort that thing. And here I am going to add one little extra space using the HTML entity code of ampersand hash 160. So this will add an additional space, ampersand hash 160 semicolon. So this will add an additional space. So you can see this space is there and that sorting has been removed. Okay, what I want to do is I want to display image also in this one. So again it's pretty simple. You have to add that image as the first column here. So again I'm gonna open, close it here. I'm gonna add that data, but for image I did a trick. I'm using that code. Okay, so I've captured some of the dummy images and I've added in my project. So how I added, I will just show you. This is the code. Okay, I've used this code and stored it with .jpg extension. So if I open my project, you can see in my images the code are there and followed by .jpg. Okay, so what I will do here, I am going to again call the mrender function, and here I am going to again use the data followed by the type and the row. So I want to return the image. Okay, so for returning an image I have to use our img tag. Okay, and the src attribute. So this src attribute will get interesting, as you know the first thing that we need to add is our context root. So here I am going to add the context root. So I'm gonna plus window dot context root and then here forward slash. Okay, the name that we use for load our static resources is resources forward slash. For images we are using images forward slash. So the images is stored inside that data dot jpg. That's how I've stored it. So again we need to open close and I'm going to say use data dot jpg. So this is how we are going to add the image source window dot context root, the resources, images. If you have not seen my video of how to load static resources, you must visit and just go through that video. You will know why I'm using resources and images here. So resources, images, that data which consists of nothing but the code which we are retrieving inside this function, and have used the dot jpg. Okay, and I'm gonna close it. So again I'm returning that image. So let me refresh. Okay, there will be a problem. The reason is I have not added an extra column, which I am already doing in my list products.jsp. So as I have added extra column for that button, I need to add that extra column for our images as well. So one extra column, otherwise your table won't load, as you can see. So I'm gonna do Control F5, and you can see the images are been displayed here, but the images sizes are too big. So how can I fix this problem or tackle this one? So for that, again I have a solution for that also. I'm just gonna open my app app.css, and I'm gonna create my own custom class, that is DataTable img. So to create a class you need to use a dot, so it means you're creating a class, and I'm gonna use a width of say 100 px and height of say 100 px. You can give the height and width as per your requirement. I'm just giving a width and height of 100 px, and I'm going to use this class. Okay, so for using this class I need to again go here in my app.js class equal to, I'm going to specify that class, that is the DataTable img. Once this is done, once this class is added, let me refresh, and you can see the images are displayed here. So the width and height is totally up to you how you want to display, but we have our data table created very nicely. Now since I have coded it, okay, and this code would be executed because we are viewing it dynamically. Now if I click here on laptop, I can see I want to see only laptop. You can see I can only see the laptop product here because I am making sure in my app.js that if I have a category ID that we are checking here, it should create a JSON URL of this thing. So it means my code is working perfectly fine. And if I click on mobile, I should be seeing only the mobiles here. And if I click on television, no data available in this particular table. Okay, and if I click again on view products, so all the products are displayed here, and I can simply search for a product. Okay, so that task is done, and in my next video I'm gonna show you how to fetch the entire product in a single dynamic page on the click of the view. It means if I click on this particular view button, I should be able to see this particular product, the entire description, because we have used only limited set of fields to display here. But if you want to display the entire content of for this particular product? Okay, so for that, stay tuned for my next video. Thanks for watching.